Wait, so you're saying I need to be 25 years old to rent a car? Is somebody here I can talk to?
I'm nowhere near where I wanted to be by this age.
Time slipping through my fingers.
Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to First Cut and the Meaning of Podcast. We are here to rank our top 10 movies of 2025. We are doing it. We are back. I'm excited to do this because obviously we didn't do this last year, but I'm here with the full crew. RB3 and Sabrina are here. Very quickly, guys, how'd you guys feel about 2025 as a year in movies, Sabrina?
I think overall it was a super impressive year. I think there are certain standouts that will probably be among the top in this decade. And so that's kind of what I really just want to celebrate when it comes to 2025 films.
And RB3, what do you think of 2025?
Yeah, I thought it was a great year in cinema. There's a lot of films that I had ranked on this list, but you had to make some difficult cuts because we only got 10.
Ooh, yes, it's tough to make a list like this, but I say let's get right to it. We're going to be going 10 through 6, all of us going around, having a little discussion, and then we'll go 5 through 1 and have a little discussion among us all. And I'll start with you, RB3. What is your 10 through 6 movies of 2025?
Well, for me, starting off, Okay, here we go. Starting off strong, I have to go with controversial pick. This is one I literally was deciding right up until the end, and that is The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Emily Blunt, directed by Benny Safdie. This just is a great performance piece between Dwayne The Rock Johnson, career best performance, and I love the artifice of it. I love the way that Benny Safdie handled the direction of it, took bold choices, told an emotional story. I think it was a little bit mismarketed. They tried to make it a little bit more of a sports drama. It's really not that. It's more of a relationship drama, but it was a great film overall, and I really loved it. So that's my number 10. Number 9, I have It Was Just an Accident. This is obviously a contender for the best international film, and it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. And what a profound story that is morally complex, that deals with the discrimination and subjugation of certain peoples in this country and in the Middle East in general. And, I think this is, and especially speaking to the times that we're in now with Iran and going to war, it's just ahead of its time and just really locking in on everything. So I really love that film as well. I know subtitles, people complained about that, but I think as for an American, for me, I had a great time understanding the story and unpacking it. So that's my number 9. Number 8, I have The Perfect Neighbor, the Netflix documentary. This was a heartbreaking watch. This follows the story of a Black woman who was unfortunately killed by her crazy Karen neighbor, crazy white neighbor. And, this documentary really impacts how the whole neighborhood thought she was crazy. And the story itself is very fascinating, but also the way they told the story is very fascinating too, because it's all told from the perspective of police body cam footage. So we end up getting the perspective of the community, but also the perspective from the police. And the police are like, yo, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very, very interesting movie. Sad watch. I'll probably never watch it again, but definitely a top 10 film of the year. My number 7 is from director Lynn Ramsey, Die, My Love, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. This film is very emotionally heavy. To me, another great performance piece between these two actors. And to me, Jennifer Lawrence actually delivered the best performance of the year overall. Of course, this fits perfectly into Lynn Ramsey's whole idea of like, oh, let's not mess with kids because these kids is crazy, right? We need to talk about Kevin, or in this one that deals with postpartum depression. Very, very deep story, very interesting, and honestly one of the most beautiful looking films with excellent cinematography as well. And last but not least, my number 6 is Marty Supreme, bookending it with the Safdie brothers. 10 was Smashing Machine, and number 6 is Marty Supreme. The only reason why this film isn't higher is because I'm terrified what this movie is going to do to the youth. It's, Timothy Chalamet is going to be the new Leonardo DiCaprio on Wolf of Wall Street. Kids are going to start walking in classrooms and acting all confident and stuff. I don't like it. But great energy, great fun, amazing cinematic moments. I'm sure we're going to talk about it a lot later in the show too.
Yeah, that's a great 10 through 6. I say let's leave Sabrina for last. So I'm going to be going next with my 10 through 6. And at number 10, I'm starting off hot right off the top, and that is One Battle After Another. This is PTA's massive film. I think there's a lot of beauty in this film. Obviously, a lot of great themes that I think work really well within the films. Really amazing performances, a lot of tone shifts that I think work within the film as well. So this is gonna be my number 10. At number 9, I have Nia DaCosta's film Hedda, starring Tessa Thompson, a film that I think kind of went under the radar, but I really appreciated watching this movie, and I think it's a really beautiful, interesting, thought-provoking adaptation of a classic story. At number 8, I have a Palestinian film, All That's Left of You by Shireen, by a very heart-wrenching, thought-provoking, profound film that literally goes from the start of the first Nakba till present. A really hard-hitting film that kind of showcases the heart of the Palestinian people and how they're still just really trying to push forward as best they can, and how this generational trauma is so devastating for them. And at number 7, speaking of documentaries, I'm with you, RB3. I was actually considering putting The Perfect Neighbor in my top 10 as well. It was between these two documentary films that I think were the two best documentary films of the year. And this is my choice, which is The Alabama Solution. Imagine the 13th, but a little bit wider in scope and a little bit more personal, which makes it just way more devastating. Probably, like you said, RB3, a film that I probably won't watch again, but it's a must watch for, I think, everyone living in this country about the incarceration system, the prison industrial complex, and how it's all basically slavery once again, and it's awful and it needs to be stopped. At number 6, I have the Brazilian film that is killing it, and that is The Secret Agent, a film that is has a lot to say and is really, really deep. And I think it's such a beautiful film. Sabrina, what is your 10 through 6?
So, complete pivot. Number 10, we have Friendship, starring Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd. This one is just absolutely insane. I have never winced this hard in a theater. Doesn't matter. It's literally a comedy, but I was feeling just so uncomfortable the entire time, had no idea where it was going to go. And it was one of my favorite theatrical experiences ever. Packed crowd, so much fun. And then number 9, that would be Begonia. I think it's Yorgos Lanthimos's probably best film in a few ones. And like the thing is, he always kind of really impresses me. This one's very palatable in my opinion, but then at the same time, with the heavier themes, we have that moment of levity at the end, and it does get kind of Yorgos silly lighter. And so I really, really love that one. I love the message behind it. And then we have for number 8, Jake Kelly. I just love that it's a very vulnerable reflection, fame and life. I think it doesn't matter if you're like inside baseball into Hollywood or not. I think there's a lot you can really dig into when you think about a father who's looking back on his life, his career, his familial relationships, love, all of the above. And then even though it's commentating on Hollywood, I think it's doing it in a very nuanced way with all of those themes. It's super warm and sentimental. And then for number 7, I have Blue Moon, directed by Richard Linklater. This one, oh my gosh, it's magic. It's honestly in a very similar vein to Jay Kelly. I feel like it's just very sentimental for the craft of creating, and then all those relationships as you're working through things and you partner with people on projects, and just kind of how it feels to stand there one day and reflect and then think ahead. And I think any other year Ethan Hawke would be getting that Oscar. To be honest, he is like tied for first place in my personal opinion. I think there's no chance, it's completely implausible, but I would have loved to see him win for this film. And then my number 6, I have Marty Supreme. Of course, same as RB3, chaotic, fun, incredible cast, super energetic camera work and editing. I just feel like when it comes to any films directed by the Safdies, except for The Smashing Machine, I kind of just never know where it's going to go. And that really excites me. I think that's something I look forward to, sitting down in the theater to watch their films.
That's a great list, and I say let's get right to it with that one. RB3 and Sabrina, you share a
Yeah.
number 6. Talk to me about Marty Supreme, a film that, to be honest, I haven't seen. I'm planning on
Oh,
watching it.
What?
Yeah, I know. I'm planning on watching it sometime before the Oscars, which is probably going to be this weekend or tomorrow. But talk to me about what it is about this film that is kind of resonating with so many people.
Well, oh, so you got it.
Oh, no, please, you go first.
Well, no, it's just I think the style of it, it's the ego of it. I think it taps into that inner desire that every guy wants to be. You know how they say like the guys want to be him, the ladies want to be with him, like that. It's one of those kind of movies. It's like the real like almost like old school like Superman kind of antics of like a character who could like seemingly get away with everything, but it doesn't do it in like an endearing way. It kind of shows you throughout like, nah, this dude's a piece of dong. Like this dude literally has done a lot of people dirty. Like he screws a lot of people over and is not ashamed about that, but it also does it in a very entertaining and fun and beautiful way. And one thing I know we mentioned, Sabrina, when we talked about it in person one time was, there's also just beautiful moments like when homie is recounting the story of him taking the bombs apart and the Holocaust and like how, he had to cover himself in honey and get, and bring it back to all the other people in the Holocaust. And it's like beautiful moments like that, but it's like, am I supposed to be like turned on too? Like, I don't know. Like, like, is this sensual? Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. Because it follows it up with a sex scene with Gwyneth Paltrow. You're like, what's going on? This is crazy. Yeah, it's just a crazy movie. It's just chaotic, wild, and kind of unbelievable in a lot of ways, but really fun.
Yeah, I think piggybacking off of that, I also feel like there is a lot of interest that somebody has when you talk about a morally gray character. I feel like even like looking back at films like Taxi Driver, just all of these different ones, even the first Joker, you could say, I feel like audiences gravitate towards somebody who is very complicated because it's more engaging to kind of play around with. One moment you're rooting for him, the next you're like, just as RB3 said, you're like, you're a terrible person. I don't want to be rooting for you. But then at the same time, you're looking at some of the people around him and you're like, I guess they're worse. So in this situation, I'm rooting for you here. But also another thing too, along with Marty Supreme, Die My Love, like great performances, great cast. RB3 has that on his list, and that's the one that kind of stood out to me there.
Oh yeah, no, I loved. Yeah, you know me. I love me some art house cinema, some really out there stuff.
I
And
loved it. Yeah.
yeah, no, I think to me, it's like y'all were saying. It's to me, it's all about performances and seeing the intimacy that and the romance, but also the hatred and the emotional roller coaster that both Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence are going through in this movie is just phenomenal. Of course, Robert Pattinson, he has a little bit of a lighter role, but it's really Jennifer Lawrence's movie, and we see a full, like almost the fullest range of emotion that you could see in any kind of performance. There's humor, there's levity, but there's also some tragic, deep depression. And there's a lot of movies that were very sad, like If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Sorry Baby, and we're going to talk about some of these movies later, I'm sure, or maybe not, I don't know. But I think that this movie for me did it in the clearest and most straightforward way too. So I really appreciated that. And yeah. And then same thing with you, Sabrina. Well, actually, Andres, you had really both of y'all had. I'm so glad we're like co-hosts, y'all, because like y'all literally all mentioned like my honorable mentions, like because my honorable mentions literally had the Alabama Solution, had Jay Kelly, which is so romantic, so beautiful. I love Jay Kelly. Like, oh man, if we had a year where Sentimental Value didn't come out, this would have been like all the same spots that Sentimental Value was in. You know what I'm saying? But I love Jay Kelly, and yeah, I mean, yeah, I love y'all list too. So
Yeah, there's something about I had to put a documentary. It really is an amazing year of documentaries when you consider just even those two, which I think it's going to be between those two to win the Oscar. Talk to me a little bit about The Perfect Neighbor RB3 and why do you feel like specifically why these two movies are getting so much attention?
yeah, I mean, we're just in an era in history where we're just getting more understanding of these issues and these topics, and it's really good to tackle these subject matters directly head on, and that's what both of these documentaries do exceptionally well, from both inside of the criminal justice system and outside of the criminal justice system, like kind of two flips on the same perspective, not on the same perspective, but like on a perspective. And anyway, very interesting kind of look at like how Black people are kind of affected by the environments that they're in. So, very prolific to this time, and I think that's why, like, you put all I left. What was it? All I left behind.
All that's left of you. Yeah.
All that's left of you. Same thing with It Was Just an Accident. Like, these foreign, a lot of foreign films are addressing the current climate that we're kind of undergoing right now too. So yeah, I mean, same. What kind of motivated you to include that film? Because I know you did the review for it, but I hadn't really heard of it until you're talking about it.
Yeah, it is. It is a kind of a smaller film when it comes to attention. I don't feel like it's getting that much attention, but it is such a expansive film that really wants to tackle just everything all at once, which is why I think maybe a lot of people didn't give it the amount of attention that it might have deserved, in my opinion, because it tries to hit on so many themes. But the center of that theme is still the humanity of a people and how these situations can escalate into something that you're begging for people to see your humanity, and it's such a cruel position to be in, where you literally have to tell people like, "Hey, I'm not gonna kill you. This is literally just who I am, and I'm just begging for my own space and my own humanity." Really devastating stuff, but at the same time, it ends on a more hopeful note, which I think might even be a little bit controversial because I know a lot of Palestinian people want to be slightly more aggressive. I've spoken to some Middle Eastern friends of mine who talked about having a more aggressive film like Palestine 36, which is a film that I haven't seen personally, but apparently that one's a little bit more like, free Palestine. Let's have this, people rise up again. Whereas this one is quieter and it kind of ends on a more somber, introspective note. But like you said, RB3, when it comes to The Perfect Neighbor and the Alabama Solution specifically, The Perfect Neighbor, when you see the cops POV, and like you said, like we don't root for cops, but even the cops are like, yo, this lady's a crazy racist lady. She's insane, bro. Like, but at the same time, you see the ineptitude of that system, the faults in that system, where the cops just shrug and just go, yeah, she's racist and she's crazy, but there's nothing I can do, man. And they just do that for the whole movie until eventually the ending with the murder that we see in the film. It is pretty devastating, and it is a devastating way to show that. And again, with the Alabama Solution, in my opinion, hit that even harder, or hit that just as hard, by showing you that it's insane. Like, it really is insane. The prison industrial complex is just jarring and insane. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, look, we're talking about heavy films. Sabrina, you have Friendship, which is a perfect contrast. I literally, that's probably the comedy that made me laugh the most this year, like straight up. I don't know, like, why Friendship? Have you always been a Tim Robinson fan, or?
Yes, hardcore. I think you should leave. Absolutely loved him. I loved his work on SNL, obviously, like over a decade ago at this point. But he's had a fantastic year with Friendship and The Chair Company, which I keep highly recommending to everybody because I really, really enjoyed that one. But it was just like you said, like it was just one that made me laugh so hard. It stood out. Like another great comedy that came out this year was Splitsville. That was from Neon, and that was another one I really enjoyed. But something about Friendship, I can continue to rewatch it because Splitsville was also another one where I was like, I didn't know where it was going throughout the entire runtime. But Friendship is endlessly rewatchable, and from start to finish, it's just insane. The amount of times people groaned in the theater, winced in the theater, you're just feeling every single thing because again, you want to root for this man that is just harming himself through and through. And he is so silly. It's kind of shocking. I don't know if this is the case or not, but this is a perfect role for him. It feels like it's tailor-made for him. I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. But yeah, Friendship, top tier cinema, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that comedies can stand out as well. Just like RB3 and I had documentaries, because those are considered those should be considered in the same category as some of the films that we have up here. Any final quick thoughts that we want to get to before we get to our top five?
We're gonna speak on Begonia later for me,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I love Begonia as well. So
Yeah.
All right,
And then
RB3. Oh yeah,
one more thing really quick. I think we should do 5 through 2 honorable mentions and then one.
that's
What do
right.
you guys
Yeah,
think?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
Cool.
right. Five through two, RB3. Give me the list.
Okay, here we go. 5 through 2. My number 5 is, to me, well, maybe the most talked about film of the year, and a little bit controversial. I even hate putting a superhero film this high, and there's a lot of great superhero films, but the superhero film of 2025 is James Gunn's Superman. That to me was a phenomenal piece of cinema that is funny, irreverent. I don't know. Irreverent.
Both.
There we go. Again, I said during the review, they're really speaking on an anti-genocide message. Very clear. I don't care how many times they deny it.
Hot girl.
Hot girl, exactly. She dropped the Benjamin Netanyahu and all that. So I love seeing that. It's just, oh man, I probably saw this movie about 8 times overall. Like, it makes me cry. Punk rocker at the end. Beautiful story. And I'm a James Gunn head, and it even kind of hurts. I'm sorry, I'm a Zack Snyder head. Y'all know I love Zack Snyder. You know what I'm saying? It kind of hurts to say this as a Zack Snyder fan, but this was the Superman movie of my generation. So that's my number. Are we doing it? So we're all doing it 5 through 2? Like,
No. So you go
right.
4, and then 3, and then 2, and then we'll go to
okay.
9. Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay. So then my number 4, you mentioned it, Sabrina, Begonia from Yorgos Lanthimos. Just a super, super intriguing, weird, fun movie. I would say, like, at first I was almost with you with it, like, oh man, maybe this is a little bit more palatable. And then I watched it on Peacock with my girlfriend, and she was just like, yo, what is this? Like, literally every scene is like a what the F moment, And then as Yorgos Lanthimos fans, we're kind of tame to that, right? Like, we've seen a lot of what the F moments in his movies, but for the normal people, it's like, yo, what am I watching, dog? Like, it's weird. Dude gets chemically castrated. It's a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, but brilliant performances. I mean, I love these performance powerhouses. If you've seen from The Smash Machine and Dime I Love, this is another one where Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone are just going head to head, and like, who can outact who can outsmart who. And it's just a great rivalry based on the Korean film Save the Green Planet, which is also a great film as well. And it, has some actual themes about like environmentalism, low key, like if you really pay attention to what like the film is saying. So yeah, I love Begonia. My number 3 choice is from Park Chan-wook, No Other Choice, the new film that centers around a recently unemployed paper employee who sees another paper company open up and says, hey, there's maybe 5 or 6 other guys who are better at me, maybe better candidates. Let me just eliminate them real quick so there's no other choices in the pool, right? And if you know Park Chan-wook, he has a very violent sensibility, but also very comedic, heavy sensibility from Old Boy, from The Handmaiden, from everything that he's touched. And this is another one. I mean, to me, there's been a lot of great foreign films, but to me, this was honestly the best one of the year for me personally. And it was, I was sad to see it not get nominated for the Oscar or anything. It's funny. It very much speaks to the economic circumstances of the entire world, seemingly, because Korea is different than the United States, but I'm feeling it here too. Like, I'm feeling this employment struggle here too a little bit as well. So it's a great film. And, last but not least, number 2, you mentioned it already, Undressed. And am I a bad black person for putting this high? I don't know, but I think it is a relevant piece of cinema that everybody should watch. And that is one battle after another. I know people love this film. I know people hate this film. I know people really, really hate this movie. But it's getting a lot of love, and it deserves a lot of love because it's deep, it's prophetic, it's funny, it's, hopefully, again, I love a movie with a message, and it's showing people, hey, maybe we got to stand up. Maybe we got to take a stand in the era of fascism. And Sean Penn is having too much fun. There's a lot of things that, are a little bit problematic, Perfidia's portrayal and things like that. Like, how do we really reason with that? But it all adds up to a great, emotionally affecting story that truly embodies the struggle that comes with being a revolutionary, being, in the yesterday generation, something like a Black Panther. In today's generation, I don't really know. I don't want the FBI tracking me down. So I don't know what these groups are doing these days, what they're called. I don't know about Antifa, y'all. But yeah, and especially in the era where we get in movies like Eddington, this is like the perfect contrast to is something that is, hey, we have a comedy that is just poking fun completely at the left governors, the left wing people, the young people, versus something like One Battle After Another is, hey, maybe this left ideology thing is maybe the direction we got to go, and maybe we should consider. So, and takes it seriously. So I love this movie, and a great chase sequence at the end.
Yeah, that's a great 5 through 2. I'm definitely excited to hear your number one as well. But let me get to my 5 through 2 very quickly. My number five, I think every film I have is just like a hard-hitting film. But this is a film I saw recently, and this is The Voice of Hind Rajab, a film that is a recreation of actual events that happened when it came to the Palestinian Red Crescent Society that were tasked with saving this little girl. It is probably one of the most gruesome, I don't know what other word to use, heartbreaking stories that you can hear. And the purpose of it is to really encapsulate the entire genocide in just one atrocity, which is a very difficult thing to do. But I think the film is able to do it in a somewhat tasteful manner. There's still questions that I have. I wrote a little bit about it on the First Cut website, but there's going to be questions when it comes to the ethics of this film, which I think are going to be valid and fair. But when it comes to the film itself, it really is an incredibly powerful, relevant film. At number four, I have a film that you mentioned already, RB3. It was Just an Accident. I think this movie is another very powerful film in a very different way. There's a lot more chaos to it. There's a lot more human madness, I guess, to it because there's people trying to make a decision that they don't know how to make it or what to do, and they're just kind of going on the fly, deciding what to do in this crazy situation that they're placed in. And I think it works really well from start to finish. The way the movie starts and the way the movie ends, it really is just an incredibly well-directed film. At number three, I have, I had to do it. I had to put an anime film in here, and I put 100 Meters. This is a incredibly beautifully animated feature film by writer Yaya Yuki, director Kenji Iwasawa gave us a beautiful film about a heated rivalry between two guys. Just a
Okay.
rivalry
Oh,
between two competing track stars that are trying to win the 100-meter dash, 100-meter race. And it is a really fascinating conversation about life, just all placed inside this race, which I think is really, really cool. And finally, at number two, damn, I try not to do it, but I just had to ask myself the real question of like, what is a movie that just hit? And this one hit. And I know it's not the coolest choice, but I'm picking Frankenstein as my number two. I think this film is beautiful. I was kind of blown away by it because I didn't expect Guillermo del Toro to kind of hit those notes, especially at the end when it comes to the character of Victor, which is the most controversial moment in the film. To me, it was just something so beautiful and so different than what I expected from a more grim, bitter Frankenstein. So, yeah. Sabrina, give me your 5 through 2.
my number five is also Frankenstein. So I'm gonna echo every single thing you just said, and I'm gonna add on top of it production design, costuming, hair, and makeup. I think those are absolutely stellar. And then again, having that humanity in the monster throughout that entire film and seeing how people around him treat him and how they're the real monsters. I feel like again, it's a lot of like very relevant commentary, and God, Guillermo del Toro is just whoo, chef's kiss. It's gonna hit every time. So number four, I also have my basic pick, Hamnet. This is actually my favorite of Chloe Zhao's films. I think the thing that really did it for me was not to like spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but that final like 20, 25 minutes, whatever it is, that idea of turning your grief into art and then having it be a space for other people to kind of have this collective experience together and just feel that catharsis. In this sense, it's this play. It really took me back to seeing the Sufjan Stevens show Illinois on Broadway and how everybody, you can hear people sobbing all around throughout that show. And that's a memory that I will never forget. And I just think this showcased the beauty of sharing your art with the world and sharing your grief, your love, your humanity, all of the above with the world. And then my number three, I have Nouvelle Vague, directed by Richard Linklater. So that is actually my second Linklater film on this list. So of course, hello, I have A Woman is a Woman right up here. I am a huge fan of Jean-Luc Godard's work. I think it is such a incredible idea to kind of recreate the entire production of Breathless. It is so beautifully done, it's so charming, and it's just a celebration of the French New Wave film movement. And there's so many iconic artists featured, and kind of featuring this era where people can create something like this. It's completely untethered to traditional rules, almost to a fault of everybody around Jean-Luc Godard's character in the film. But it's just curious, it's intellectual, it's naturalistic, and I think that's why it makes so much sense that Linklater took that on because again, it gives the Before trilogy. Same type of vibe. The creation of Breathless was that vibe, and you could kind of see his influences on his sleeve in this. And I love that it's just straightforward and not overly dramatized of a real production. It's just really, really stunning. Highly recommend it for anyone who hasn't checked it out. And then my number two, Sinners. Sinners is my number two. Realistically, being completely like objective with it, I think this is the best film of the year. It fires off on all cylinders. I have talked about this film to death, but gosh, the ensemble, Ryan Coogler's direction, all of the different ideas it approaches in this film and how successfully it puts it into a genre film, genuinely mind-blowing. This is the best film of the year, but it is my number two. I could talk about it for the longest time, but I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah, these are great choices. What's something that stands out with you guys between your guys' lists?
Well, you know me. I mean, well, okay. Oh, sorry. Never mind. You
Just
know
do
me.
it. Just say
I
it.
have some tricky thoughts on Hamnet. You know me. So
Oh,
like,
that's right.
No,
You
that's
feel
do.
obviously
free,
where
feel
my
free.
that's where like my
Yeah.
first brain goes. But I'm glad it connected with somebody, and I think there's a lot of greatness like in Hamnet. So yeah, with
Yeah,
that.
there's it's funny, Shakespeare, because I picked Hedda, another Shakespeare one, and then obviously Hamnet is actual Shakespeare as far as like the character Shakespeare. But if you guys want to watch more Shakespeare, Station 11 is a really great show on HBO if you guys have seen that. But also kind of talks about just the grieving and storytelling. It's really interesting. But I don't know. I think Chloe Zhao cooks. I think she cooks. I
She
think
does.
Jessie Buckley should win Best Actress. So
Yeah.
that's just I think Hamnet is
No.
great.
Yeah, no, like you said, Sabrina, the production design, cinematography, all of that, like it's just pitch perfect all the way through and through. Again, I already said my main complaint. Just when they pulled out On the Nature of Daylight at
Yeah.
the end, that's the only thing that like really was like not it for me.
Yeah.
But I understand it completely. Frankenstein, I love that you guys have Frankenstein. I want to have Frankenstein. You know me with costume dramas, it's a little it's harder. But like y'all, I mean, y'all are right though. It's great and it's morally complex. And what kind of motivated both of y'all to loving it so much?
Yeah, Sabrina, go ahead.
I think the first time I watched it, I was so captivated from beginning to end, with all of the elements. And that's what I think Del Toro does so great as a filmmaker is that he is so methodical with every single detail. All of the crew that he has working with him, they're just working harmoniously, seamlessly. And that is something you don't really think about when you're watching a movie, but I think about it with his in the most perfect way. It doesn't take me out at all, but it just stays with me for so long that I'm looking up who worked on this, who did this, how did they get to this costume design, how did they get to this makeup and creature design. So because I just couldn't stop thinking about it after finishing it, I knew it had to end up on my list.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts on Frankenstein, but for me, the way that Guillermo del Toro basically said that he wanted to make an immigrant generational trauma story inside the story of Frankenstein and make it like a novela, which is why I think that hits and I think that's spot on to what he did because of the performances, number one, but also the feeling of isolation and feeling like you don't belong and taking those themes inside the original novel, which in the novel it turns into this outward monstrosity, right? That's exactly what we get from the creature. Where in this movie, it doesn't. And I thought that was such a really bold perspective that he did, where he didn't want to make the creature end on this bitter note, but instead on a hopeful, bittersweet note, because there's still bitterness to it because of who he is. something that he can't change, but there's a hopefulness because of his perspective change and because of the way he's able to forgive and move on and try to live as the creature. So again, I just think it's a really beautiful film that is low-key underrated in my opinion. Obviously, a lot of people loved it, but to me, it should be even more rewarded. So, and then RB3, you had it was just an accident. I had it was just an accident. You
Yeah,
had it a little
yeah,
bit lower than I had it.
yeah.
But I think that's another incredibly powerful film that really hits on a lot of notes. And I said it in my little bit, but the chaos of the film is just really interesting. Everyone
Yeah.
having the different perspectives is cool.
I mean, I love the part when they pull up to the wedding rehearsal and then homegirl is like mid getting her photo taken. She's like, "Where's that?" Like she just goes right into
Yeah,
the car,
yeah,
ready to handle it. Yeah, it was deep stuff, man. It was deep
yeah.
stuff, and it was honestly, you see why it resonated all around the world. And of course, like I said too earlier, like with the situation happening in Iran right now, with another kind of interesting parallel to like fascism and like how this imperial state just kind of impresses themselves on the people and how the people react to that, and sometimes people take it up into their own hands and do things that are not that are morally complex, you know what I'm saying? Where they have to do to this former torturer that they ended up capturing. So yeah, it's a very, very fascinating film, and I loved watching it, but also it's another film I think I'd have a hard time revisiting, but
Mm.
very deep and very profound as well.
So I got to make assumptions here. I'm not sure if One Battle After Another is gonna be Sabrina's number one.
Oh yeah.
But just in case it isn't, uh, RB3, One Battle After Another, man. What you thinking about it? You put it high. You put it number two.
Yeah, I put number two. I mean, I think I've always been like literally, me. One of our first episodes of the meaning of ever. I think episode 10 or 11 was about PTA. At my
Yeah.
assistance, I love PTA. Magnolia is dead. One of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I've watched that movie a countless number of times. Boogie Nights, entire filmography is great. This isn't one of his best. I don't even know if it's like really top 3 or 4, but it's very PTA. It's very beautiful. It's very gorgeous cinematography wise. Seeing it in IMAX 70 millimeter. Shout out to Dylan who put me, who got me the tickets to seeing it. IMAX 70 is a beautiful experience. Car chase at the end. Chase Infinity herself is phenomenal. I've also, me too. I've been a Tiana Taylor fan forever. We remember when we saw Tiana Taylor at the Vogue 100 party, Sabrina, that one time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we was partying right next to her. You know what I'm saying? I've always been a stan. I'm great. It was great seeing her have her moment. Leo's funny. Everything about the movie is just funny and good. But, it's problematic. That's really what keeps it from being number one. In some respects, it's a little bit problematic for me. Benicio del Toro, too, is, of course, phenomenal. Every
Phenomenal.
performance is top tier. Everything about it is top tier. It's just some elements that just keeps it right there for me, number one. And also, my number one movie is just almost a perfect film. So, and I think me and Andres are gonna have the same number ones. I'm very curious. Your number, was probably gonna be, you have Sinners number two. I'm very curious what your number one is gonna be, Sabrina. But we'll see. We'll have to.
I was gonna
figure
say,
it
let's
out.
get right to it, man. Real quick, honorable mentions. Real quick, because we got to get to our number one. Honorable mentions. You said you had a lot RB3, but give me some of them.
Well, like y'all mentioned, Hedda is definitely one. That was literally my number 11 spot. That's why I was fighting with the Smashing Machine at the very end. Um, Weapons, which I don't know if that's on anybody's list. I don't know if that's going to be on Sabrina's list. We'll see. And then obviously Jay Kelly, Mickey 17, an early sleeper. It was very close to being on there. One of them days. Of course, Kiki Palmer. Love Me with Kristen Stewart and Steven Yeun, an early 2025 cut. That was beautiful. Yeah, that was great. Ballerina, a John Wick story, the best action movie of last year, undeniably. I mean, great all the way through and through. And then also Love Brooklyn, which had Andre Holland and Roy Woods Jr. and a really stacked cast in that one too. So those are my honorable mentions.
That's
And
a
Jay
great.
Kelly. Did I say Jay Kelly? Jay Kelly.
Yeah.
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 Say it again. Who cares? Jay Kelly.
Right. Right.
Some of my honorable mentions, real quick. Shout out Predator, Killer of Killers, a really fun animated movie that I think was the best Predator movie of the year. I know there was two, but that one was my favorite one for sure. I think it's a really well structured film. What else? I already mentioned the movie you mentioned, A Perfect Neighbor RB3, the documentary, that's definitely uh one of
Oh yeah.
my um honorable mentions. And then what else do I have? I think that's it. I think no, I also have a reluctantly, I have Superman on there. But
Oh, oh,
reluctantly.
I
Yeah.
forgot Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts. I forgot to
I was
mention
gonna say we
Thunderbolts
were
as
at
well. I
Thunderbolts. Yeah.
love Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts is so close, but I can only have one superhero movie on here. So
And shout out K-pop Demon Hunters, a really fun film that I think is deservedly getting a lot of love too. So Sabrina, some honorable mentions.
Yeah, I already mentioned Splitsville. That was a really fun comedy. Weapons, Long
oh,
Walk.
weapons.
Yeah, Weapons definitely. I wish it came so close to being in my top 10. It was so hard. I was really fighting between that and Friendship, to be honest. The Long Walk as well. I think The Long Walk is one of those that I don't want to ever watch again, but damn, was it effective? Sorry Baby was really fantastic. One of Them Days. I did kind of like Eddington. I kind of rocked with it a little bit. And then yeah, Die My Love and Mickey 17, and then maybe Oh Hi as well. Sorry, I know that was a lot, but
Yeah, also I forgot to say Wake Up Dead Man for one of
yeah.
mine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a really fun one. All right. Drum roll. I think it's obvious what your number one is, RB3, but tell me what your number one is.
Yeah, I mean, you already know. I said it. I said it a bajillion times in the show before. It's Sinners. You know, Sinners is to me just a masterpiece of storytelling, of a really peak genre mix of horror, vampire movies, which is a very prominent genre all the way around, but also Black history, of Black music, of Black tradition, of ancestry and to heritage, and going into a facet of Black history and a period of Black history that isn't really talked about because people always go to slave era or we go to civil rights. But that in between period of like the Jim Crow South 1930s is a very tricky period for Black people, for Black ownership. Story of Sinners is super detailed. The world is super well drawn, very understandable. The criminal undertone of it, but also the creative undertone, the creative struggle of pursuing something that your family doesn't want you to pursue. You know, like for me, I grew up, you know, my family wanted me to be in the engineering, like mathematics, science route. I want to be a creative, and you have to kind of step up and make that choice as an adult, and that's what Sammy undergoes too. Also, the rich understanding of Jack O'Connell's character, really a sympathetic villain in a lot of ways, even to the point of like, if you really start talking to some Irish people or some folks of Irish lineage, like, yo, man, they might have some points too. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a country that's also been divided by religion and things like that, which is another great topic that Sinners tackles as well. I showed my mom Sinners. I fast forwarded through all the scary scenes. So, we had a good time watching it. I should have fast forwarded through the SEX scenes too, but very sensual as a vampire movie should be, very fun, very gory, but also not too over the top and gratuitous. Just overall, a pretty perfect movie as you could get. The only tiny complaint that I have, it's not really a complaint, it's more of a nitpick, but there's there's like 3 or 4 guys that are in the background during the final fight that you could barely notice, that like they barely show up in a couple shots here and there. But I'm like, yo, Coogler didn't give no backstory to them, which is cool. You just needed a couple bodies to flop at the end. But it's just it's a funny detail after watching it like 9 or 10 times. You're like, wait, who are these guys? And they show up for exactly one shot here. Another guy shows up for exactly another shot. It's like, okay, all right, like Easter eggs. But I love it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because I've seen the movie so many times as well. It is also my number one. Sinners is my number one. Everything you said and more, RB3. So many layers. Like it's ridiculous the amount of layers from African history to the history of culture in general, art, what we consider to be American art, American music, all originates from just Black people and the way that they were able to give into themselves and pour into themselves, and the way that has obviously been stolen from so many people. But like you said, RB3, the idea of Remick and colonialism and religion specifically. Religion is the one that I see a lot of people avoid talking about, but that's one that I really want to talk about as someone who grew up extremely like overly just beaten over the head with that, and how that can be dangerous, and how it can make you kind of reject your own culture and your own people, and consider the people who sing the blues and who do stuff from Africa and the hoodoo and all that as sinners, and as people who are not, doing the right thing. I think that's a detail that I would love to see more people talk about, because I think that's a beautiful commentary that Ryan Coogler is trying to digest, and doing all of that inside a vampire, you know, time period film is just something that this is going to be the kind of film. I was telling my mom, this will be the film that inspires a new generation of filmmakers, in my opinion, a new generation of storytellers. This is like I said it's like the Matrix of like now, where it's just such a groundbreaking film that it just does so many things. And I'm sure there's better examples. I just say the Matrix because it's one of my favorite movies. But I think this is like that kind of groundbreaking film, genre film, that is getting the attention it deserves.
And can I say one more thing about Sinners too? And salute to the great Delroy Lindo, absolute film legend. Ryan Coogler's ability to direct the great performances and get all these actors award nominated and award winning is already one thing, but giving an actor like Delroy Lindo the spotlight he deserves. Of course, other legends like Buddy Guy, Wuni Wasaku is honestly becoming like a legend in her own right, and Michael B. Jordan. But Delroy Lindo, just look at the way they introduce his character in that movie with the harmonica playing. It's just like, what a way to introduce a star into the rightful, he was already, Delroy Lindo was already a star, but now he's, to me, going to be an Oscar-winning superstar one day, or at least top-tier Oscar-nominated superstar. So just love it. And, of course, Buddy Guy's representation, everything about it is just almost a completely perfect film.
For sure. Sabrina, you're number one.
Can I guess? Can I take a guess?
I feel like you're gonna know. Take a guess. No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
We have all left off. Okay, really quick. Actually, let me build up this anticipation.
Okay.
To piggyback off of Sinners, I just want to say this is my dad's favorite movie of the year, and that's a very, very high bar. He is so critical when it comes to that kind of stuff. He absolutely loves Sinners. And then I also implore everybody to watch the Tiny Desk performance with Buddy Guy and Miles Caton.
I saw that.
So fantastic. Again, best original song. Come on, y'all. But my number one is actually, nobody's mentioned it except RB3 very briefly a minute ago. Sentimental Value is my number one. Joaquin Trier's Sentimental Value. Something about Joaquin Trier is that his filmmaking just feels so effortless. I feel like he's able to kind of tonally balance so many like organic, natural behaviors between his characters. Like it feels so real and so grounded. With a film that's kind of like full of melancholy, it has these like relief moments with like humor, and just the way it kind of just like lets you sit in the moments for a lot longer. It kind of reminds me of talking to my sister and us, having these deep conversations, and then we'll kind of make a joke and we bring ourselves back down to reality. But also The Worst Person in the World was actually my number one years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have very, very, very high expectations for this one. I think having this story with like fractured familial relationships is something that resonates a lot with me. And so that's why this is something that I love to sit and just watch something, listen to a song, read a book, and just feel that wave of whatever it is, just immersing myself into that story. So this is why this one hit so, so hard for me. And I'll probably rewatch it a million times. Like I rewatch Sinners, and Frankenstein as well. Those are kind of like, it was kind of what I alluded to, with Sinners, especially, that I think these are going to be some of the best films of the decade. So I think Sentimental Value is kind of going to be one of those sleeper ones that just lingers for a while, because that's what the film did to me after I watched it. It just lingered for so long. But that cinematography is beautiful. The way it's written is stunning. All of the performances are great, but Stellan Skarsgård, just absolute chef's kiss. It hits me so deep. But yeah, so that is my number one.
That's a great one. Yeah. Any thoughts, RB3?
No, I love Sentimental Value as well. I mean, it's just a tremendously beautiful, nuanced, well-written movie. I love the dynamic that Stellan Skarsgård has with both of his daughters, trying to get that relationship back, but also he's obviously a little bit rougher edged, older, but he's very like charismatic and charming when interacting with Elle Fanning and trying to like ease his way into like, oh, okay, like I know you're American. Let me like try to change the script and try to hopefully trying to fancy it up. But in his heart of hearts, he really wants to make this movie with his daughter. I love the opening scene when she's in the theater and she's freaking out, and then like she's like telling the homie like slap me, da da da, and he's like, I kind of don't want to. Like you got to go on stage. She books out of the theater and she got to get dragged back in. It's a very like powerful opening scene to kind of put you in her emotional headspace as well. Renate Rensva, great performance as well from that. So yeah, I think the only reason why I didn't have it on my list or on the honorable mentions is because, you know, again, I love my man Jay Kelly. You know what I'm saying? And to me, they're beautifully similar films, but they take it in such different ways. Like Sentimental Value is quiet, it's nuanced, it's, you know, honest, it's very real and very textured. Jay Kelly is very Hollywood, very over the top, very romantic,
Very charming.
very charming. Yeah, the very flip sides of the coin. It's almost like the movie that the director in Sentimental Value was making is like Jay Kelly, like in a way, you know what I'm saying? Like, but great film and yeah, just a beautiful piece of cinema. I love it. I mean, that's a great film, Sabrina, for sure. I love it.
Yeah, what a year for international film, right? I
Yeah.
think that's something that I mean, shout out Sweden. I think we named quite a few. Obviously, RB3 we didn't talk about, no other choice, but my God,
Oh yeah.
Park Chan, I forgot, I'm gonna mess up his name.
Park Chan
Park
Wook.
Chan-wook.
Park Chang-wook. The way he cooks, bro, he cooks so hard.
Yeah.
Like if you want someone who literally is gonna walk you through like making a movie energetic and making you feel everything, like that's who that director can do it. But all the other ones I named as well. I know I didn't talk about it too much, but The Secret Agent is another great film in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah.
A
Yeah.
Brazilian film that I think tries to get to a lot, but I think it does it really well, and I think it's really beautiful. So
I
yeah,
gotta rewatch that one. I'll be
yeah,
honest. Like I think I fell asleep on that one a little bit. Not because the movie was boring, just because I was tired. But
it's
I'm
long.
gonna
It's a long
Is
movie.
it in
Yeah.
the neon
2:30.
box set?
It
Is
was
it
it
neon
didn't
or
it
no?
didn't come in the box set. They sent the digital screener for it, but that joint expired in February. So that's why I watched it one time in Feb, and then I had just like forgot it, slept through it, and then forgot to get back to it. But yeah, man, I gotta give it another spin. It was good, but not. You're right though. International cinema, like you had a couple of Palestinian films, and you
Yeah.
had No Other Choice, and you had the anime joint as well. I mean, I hadn't heard of that
Yeah.
anime one, but
100 Meters, man. It's such a great movie. I really do feel like every time I put an anime movie, I really consider it, and I don't just put anime because it's anime. I really do want it to be a movie that tries to say something different or do something different. And that's exactly what that movie does. So it's really, really cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. What a year, right? What a year in film. Sinners, in my opinion, one of my favorites, Sabrina. I'm sure you
yeah.
agree as well.
Sabrina,
Because you put it at number two.
no one battle after another though.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me speak on this
Yeah.
really quickly.
Film bro.
That's the thing. I think the more, because I do think it's a really great film, and gosh, do I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I really do. I echo everything you say about Magnolia, Boogie Nights, all of the above. Um, but I think with this one, the longer I've been away from it, the more I actually don't think it understands what it's trying to say too
Mm,
much. I think it's shooting for things, and I think we ourselves as an audience members, like we're putting our own gaps and filling
mm,
those in. And
mm-hmm,
so I'm kind of like, to me, this film might actually not say anything because again, we're joking about
mm.
Eddington and we're saying, hey, he's making fun of the left. But actually, when you look at this, he's kind of doing that here too a little bit. We even see obviously when Leonardo DiCaprio's character, when he's an adult, he's just this like stoner guy who's like a recluse and he's all weird. He's weird with his daughter. And then even in the scene where her friends are getting interrogated, it's
Oh
like her
yeah.
trans friend is the friend that like gives up her information. And so I think like and I'm none of this. I'm not saying Paul Thomas Anderson has bad politics. I am saying at the Berlin Film Festival, he's just kind of like, "Well, everybody's bad. You know what I mean? Like we all have our pros and cons. And so I don't necessarily think he's making a statement. And that's what brings it down for me. Where we have other films that make the statements and they hold true to their values. We have Sinners, who is unabashedly
Yeah.
having, they are telling the story that they're telling. This one, I feel like it meanders. It doesn't really have a core value, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I think I've been kind of inundated. I think Sabrina, you and I are on a similar wavelength. That's why I had it number 10. Because it's for me, it's like it just barely makes the list because
Yeah.
I do want to value my first time experience, but I also want to take in a lot more criticism of it, valid criticism in my opinion. And the one that I gotta be honest, everything. I know we reviewed it. But there's a lot of black women, like a lot. It's not just like at first I was like, all right, that's a good, dozen, and now it's just like hundreds, thousands who have done like reviews on this movie and who've really felt like this is a poor, regressive portrayal of what they've done before. And obviously it doesn't necessarily mean that there's is the right opinion, but it's an opinion that should be, in my opinion, taken with a lot more value than other people's opinion. So I think that's hard. It's hard to not see that.
I will say, yes, I do agree with that. There are a lot of black women critics who haven't messed with it. I will say in my personal life, and this is completely anecdotal, but like, my girlfriend watched it and she actually enjoyed it enough to where she showed it to her family and they actually like really enjoyed it too. I think it's like, it really gets down to like the kind of, it really gets down to like who watches it, how like, frankly, hate to say it, like how woke, you are. And this is one of those interesting movies of like, it's like an interesting horseshoe. If you're super far right, you're going to hate this movie. And if you're super far left, or if you're like marginally left, you're kind of side-eyeing this movie a lot, right? Like, and again, shout out to my homie, Steve. Steve might be watching this. Steve is a white ally who is very left in a lot of these, low-key revolutionary groups and these group chats. And he was not like, he hates this movie of his passion. He'll say like, yeah, this movie doesn't honor any code. It doesn't have any respect, da 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 da. And he, he's a white brother with a black girlfriend, and like a lot of this stuff is like very paralleling to like how he lives his life. But he's watching, he's like, nah, F this. This is not it. So it's just like,
He's like,
yeah.
I'm not Leo. That's not how we act.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's like, nah, even though like, she looks to Steve, he's he be smoking too. But everybody, look, I'm just saying it's like a very, like, I get it, like it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like I just take it as a pure filmmaking value and like,
Yeah.
and I also hear what everybody says about Perfidion. I think that is like more valid criticism. That's why I put it at number 2 and not number 1. So, but yeah,
Well,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you got taste. I know you would have Sinners above One Battle After Another.
Mm.
That's the thing I think is like the first time I watched it, I'm like, this is a fantastic film. Like it really, really is. And my dad also liked this one, but he did like Sinners more. I got a shout out to Jacobo Ramirez real quick.
Good taste too.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you're watching at face value, it is a great film. But because people are treating it as something that is saying such a strong message, I don't think it's necessarily taking that seriously. And I think that's where it kind of dips off. If you look deep into it, it's kind of very shallow and it's pretty empty. And so that's then the criticism where it's like, you're tackling all of this. You have good ideas. You have the seeds of some good ideas in there, but you don't flesh it out enough for it to actually hold any weight. And so that's what it is for One Battle with Me. So I agree with Steve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I think it
But also
doesn't.
this is, sorry, one thing I want to say too is I'm not, I don't think less of somebody who really, really enjoys it for all different reasons. Because again, this is a fantastic film.
Yeah, I just think we need to be able, especially if we're, understanding the film, to have these conversations because I do think everything you said is true. And I think that's why I dropped it a lot lower too, because of you bring up this stuff, but you just don't really do anything with it. You just kind of bring it up. And I don't know if that's enough. Sometimes it is enough for me. Like my first watch, I was like, that's enough. But kind of my rewatch and my kind of rethought and reassessment, I was like, it might be a little lower for me on
Yeah,
that
it
reason.
feels like
So,
it's just like utilizing this stuff to drive the plot forward, but not
mhm.
necessarily having anything to say on the matter is kind of where I land with One Battle. But also, RB3 had If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Another honorable mention that I forgot about. That one was also interesting.
Yeah, I like
Rose
that one
Byrne,
too.
man. Damn.
Actually speaking on that and Die My Love with 2025 as a whole,
Mm,
not to get into a tangent, but obviously we have seen kind of a lot of like right-wing propaganda pushed onto women being like, oh, you have to have kids young, you have to get married young. You're like, you're wasting your life if you don't. Look at these people. Look, they're so sad, they're so unhappy. And it is kind of really interesting that we have Die My Love, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, that kind of really do focus on some of the realities, postpartum depression, or different aspects of your life that change when you do become a mother. And I think that that's very valuable. I think that's very kind of like just a progressive stance to have in comparison to some of the talking points we see.
And both from women directors too.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's a very complex, interesting conversation that I feel like is getting a lot more attention now. That should be given a lot more attention. It's again complex. I don't know what other word to use because
Well,
yeah.
it goes back to, the video essay you had where you talked about how political a lot of these films are, even when you don't realize it. Something like
Mhm.
If I Had Legs, I Kick You, Die My Love, not necessarily something that would be at the forefront for me. It doesn't talk politics directly, but it really does kind of have just a message.
Yeah, something to say. Yeah.
I was gonna say one more, and we're already running late, but one more that was very close to making the list. Not because I necessarily enjoyed the movie. I actually kind of thought the movie was a little stale, but just how much conversation it drew was The Materialist. I almost wanted to put it on my top 10 list just because of how deep the conversations kind of got when that movie came out. I feel like it's still honestly still at the tip of everybody's cultural tongue, because people are still talking about the leg surgery idea. People are still talking about there's a lot of themes that were addressed in that were very low key ahead of its time, and we're still kind of in that dialogue now. But I want to mention that just because I didn't love the movie, but I love the dialogue that's around it.
Yeah, we should have done a review for that movie. Did we do a review for that movie? I don't think
No,
we
I don't
did.
think so.
I don't
Nah.
think so.
We should have.
It's also so
That's got a lot to say as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also so interesting because obviously all of us really loved Past Lives. Past Lives was
Hmm.
such a strong film from
Yeah.
Celine Song. And I think my biggest problem with Materialist, because I actually like it more than most people. I'm like, yeah, I've watched it twice. I could have a fun little watch with it. I think the biggest problem that I have is that the reason why it doesn't connect, all of these characters are far too old to be having the realizations that they're having. If you're in your mid 20s, I would believe it a little bit more, but we have our mid 30s to 40s, and they're like, girls only like me for money, or we can't like each other because I'm broke. Oh my God, stop it. I think that's the biggest part that doesn't make that movie land is I think they should have been in their mid to late 20s at oldest. Because you're too damn old to be doing this.
I mean, as someone who's
No,
as
no,
the
but you're
elder
not
man,
gonna have these conversations with people
I mean,
like
you'd
this.
be
You don't
surprised. I
know.
feel like people now are getting older and barely figuring out how to date correctly, I guess, or how to date in the modern world. I don't know. There's a lot there. There's a lot that we can just jump into because I think it's a really I like what you said, RB3. It does have a lot to say about what's currently going on right now in the dating world, which is something you guys don't know about. So this is my hater attitude coming out towards you guys. This is me. It's a movie about me. No, I'm playing. But it's interesting. I agree with the RB3 that it doesn't quite nail it in my opinion, but it does bring up conversations that are worthy of talking about. So yeah, shout out to Celine Song, man. She kills it.
Yeah.
That is our top 10 of 2025. We did it. We actually did it. I'm very happy to have you guys, happy to hear your perspectives, your takes, your lists, interesting films that maybe you didn't hear about, or maybe you just haven't paid enough attention to. Really, really cool stuff. Sabrina, where can everyone find you?
You can follow me on Twitter and TikTok at Sabrina on Film, and then Instagram at Sabrina.onfilm.
RB3.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at Director RB3. And of course, follow us First Cut TMO everywhere as well.
And you can follow me at Squad Leader Ace on social media and follow us at First Come TMO, as RB3 said. And make sure you subscribe to First Cut if you haven't done so already. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, The Meaning of Podcast. Make sure you check out our merch shop. We are doing merch, and check out our website as well. Either way, guys, for the First Cut crew and The Meaning of Podcast, we're going to be peacing out. So peace, deuces.
This ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh. With the 4/5 divide you in half. You getting at me equals a club laugh.